Hi, everyone.
Hello. We're in the book Crisis of Conscience in chapter Internal Upheaval and Restructure. This is page 72. And what's just happened, there's been a minor fracas at the governing body level about whether the governing body is going to now control the affairs of the corporation and therefore the entire body of Jehovah's Witnesses, the organization, or not. And that is going to get worse before it gets better. And this is the next day after several motions have been put forward at the governing body meeting. Nathan Knorr and Leo Greenlees have both put forward motions which have some tension between them. And E.C. Chitty, another governing body member, has weighed in. And then Ray Franz says on the next day, May 1st, that's May 1st, 1975, by the way, there was again a long discussion. The vice president who had written the Watchtower articles referred to, in particular, objected to the proposals made and to any change in the existing setup, any reduction of the president's authority. This brought to mind and was in harmony with his remarks to me back in 1971 that he thought Jesus Christ would direct the organization through a single person on down to the time when the new order came. He made no comment on the evident contradiction between the presentation made in the Watchtower articles and their bold statements about the governing body using the corporations as mere instruments, and the three motions made, each of which showed that the makers, including the president himself, recognized that the governing body did not at that time supervise the corporations.
Discussion went back and forth. A turning point seemed to come with remarks made by Grant Suter, the crisp-speaking secretary-treasurer of the Society's principal corporations. Different from the comments made till then by those favoring a change, his expressions were quite personal, seemingly the release of a long pent-up feeling about the president, whom he directly named. While discussing the authority structure, he made no specific charges, except as regards the right to make a certain change in his personal room that he had requested and had been denied. But as he went on, his face became flushed. His jaw muscles flexed and his words became more intense. He closed with the remark, "I say, if we're going to be a governing body, then let's get to governing. I haven't been doing any governing till now."
That's pretty revealing because he's been the secretary-treasurer for decades at this point.
Yeah. Those words hit me hard enough that I am satisfied that I have remembered and recorded them as said. Whether they were meant to convey the sense they did is, of course, beyond my knowing, and they may well have been merely a momentary outburst, not indicative of any heartfelt motive. At any rate, they served to make me think very seriously about the matter of right motivation, and I felt considerable concern that whatever should come of this whole affair might be the result of a sincere desire on the part of all involved to hold more closely to Bible principles and patterns, and not for any other reason. I found the whole session disturbing, mainly because the general spirit did not seem to conform to what one would expect of a Christian body.
However, shortly after these last mentioned comments by the secretary-treasurer, Nathan Knorr evidently reached a decision and made a lengthy statement, taken down in shorthand by Milton Henschel, who had made certain suggestions himself and who acted as secretary for the body. And of course, Milton Henschel would become the fifth president after Fred Franz's death in 1992. As recorded in the official minutes, the president's statement included these expressions, quote, "I think it would be a very good thing for the governing body to follow through along the lines that Brother Henschel has mentioned and design a program having in mind what the Watchtower says, that the governing body is governing body of Jehovah's Witnesses. I am not going to argue for or against it. In my opinion, it is not necessary. The Watchtower has stated it," and I marked that like, Who writes the Watchtower again? It's like, I remember a comment that the Setnars made about life in Brooklyn, where the joke that always went around was, when it comes off the 6th floor, it's
God's word.
It's God
Yeah.
spoken. Yeah.
Yeah.
It will be the governing body, he goes on to say. This is still Nathan Knorr. It will be the governing body who will have overall guiding power and influence. They will take their responsibility as governing body and direct through different divisions they will set up. Different divisions they will set up, and they will have an organization. That seems a very strange way to say it.
Yeah.
They will have an organization. And that's the end of Nathan Knorr's direct quote. At the end, he said, "I make that a motion." Somewhat to my surprise, his motion was seconded by F.W. Franz, the vice president. It was adopted unanimously by the body as a whole. The bold language of the Watchtower for 4 years previous seemed about to change from mere words into fact. From the expressions made by the president, it appeared that a smooth transition lay ahead. It was, instead, only a lull preceding the stormiest period of all. We'll get into that next time. I'll put in a link this time to Fred Franz Explodes the Governing Body Concept, because it's at this very time in the mid-70s that Fred Franz goes to Gilead and blows this thing to smithereens, and what he says never gets into the Watchtower.
Yeah.
But the Gilead class heard it, and I guess a lot of the instructors there would have heard it. I don't know if Ed Dunlap was there at the time, but that speech is available, by the way, on the YouTube if you haven't heard it, and it's pretty memorable. Because what he does is what everybody who has ever read the Book of Acts knows, namely that the Book of Acts does not support the concept of a sitting governing body. Now everybody in Christendom kind of knows that. Everybody Protestant knows that, but and Fred Franz knew that, but it never got into the Watchtower. See you next time.